The courtroom was packed that afternoon. People whispered as a young black teen named Derek walked nervously toward the defendant's table. His shoulders were tense and his hands trembled slightly. He was only 19, yet here he was, facing a judge who didn't seem to take him seriously. From the moment he entered the room, Judge Harrison, an older white man with a stern face, leaned back in his chair and chuckled as Derek fumbled with his papers. The sound of the judge's laughter carried through the courtroom, making Derek feel smaller by the second. To many, it looked like a powerful man mocking someone far below him. The bailiff whispered something to another officer, shaking his head. People in the crowd exchanged uneasy glances. Derek stood silent, his heart racing. He was here to fight for something that mattered deeply to him. And instead, he was being laughed at before he even had a chance to speak. "Son," Judge Harrison said with a smirk, "are you sure you even know why you're here today? You look like you should be in school, not wasting this court's time." The words cut deeply. Derek's eyes burned with both embarrassment and anger. But instead of lashing out, he straightened his back and took a deep breath. Everyone was waiting to see if he would lose his temper. He didn't. "I know exactly why I'm here, Your Honor," Derek replied calmly, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "And I intend to be heard." The courtroom grew still. Derek opened his folder, pulled out neatly organized documents, and began speaking with clarity and authority. He explained that he was representing his cousin, who had been wrongfully accused of trespassing in a neighborhood he actually lived in. Derek had spent weeks researching the law, preparing evidence and memorizing arguments. At first, Judge Harrison chuckled again, waving his hand dismissively, but soon the tone of the room shifted. Derek cited legal precedents fluently, quoting cases and laws that even seasoned lawyers sometimes overlooked. The confidence in his voice grew stronger with each word. The crowd leaned forward in surprise. The bailiff's eyes widened. Even the opposing attorney stopped, smirking, and began nervously flipping through his own notes. Judge Harrison adjusted his glasses, his laughter fading. He cleared his throat, leaning forward as if he suddenly realized this wasn't the situation he thought it was. "Where exactly," the judge asked slowly, "did you learn all of this?" Derek paused, his lips curled into a slight smile. "From law school, Your Honor. I'm not just some teen. I'm a licensed attorney." Gasps echoed around the room. The entire courtroom froze. Judge Harrison's face turned pale. He blinked rapidly, clearly shocked. The man he had mocked only minutes ago was not a helpless kid. He was a professional who had worked his way through the very system the judge represented. The crowd began whispering louder. Some nodded in approval. Others shook their heads in disbelief. Derek didn't gloat or raise his voice. Instead, he calmly laid out the rest of his case, methodically presenting evidence and pointing out flaws in the accusations against his cousin. His words were powerful not because of arrogance, but because of truth. By the end of his presentation, the courtroom was silent again. Judge Harrison shifted uncomfortably in his chair, finally realizing the weight of his mistake. The same man he had belittled had just schooled the entire room in professionalism, patience, and knowledge of the law. When the decision came down, it was in Derek's favor. His cousin was cleared of the charges, and the courtroom erupted into quiet applause before the bailiff called for order. Derek turned to his cousin, patting him on the back with a reassuring smile. But the moment that stood out most wasn't the victory itself. It was what happened next. Judge Harrison cleared his throat again, his voice much softer than before. "Mr. Carter," he said, using Derek's last name with newfound respect, "I owe you an apology. I judged you before hearing you out, and I was wrong. Today you reminded me, and everyone here, that ability, intelligence, and character are not determined by age or appearance. Thank you for that lesson." The entire room felt the shift. A judge once mocking and dismissive was now humbled and reflective. Derek nodded respectfully, not rubbing it in, simply replying, "Thank you. Your Honor, we all make mistakes. What matters is what we learn from them." As Derek and his cousin walked out of the courtroom, people patted him on the back, thanking him for standing strong. His calm dignity had not only won the case, but had left everyone with a lesson they wouldn't soon forget. The story spread quickly around town. The young, black attorney who was laughed at in court, only to prove himself in the most powerful way possible. And the moral was clear. Hate divides, but kindness heals. We are all equal as human beings. Respect should never be based on skin color, age, or assumptions. It should be earned by character, wisdom, and integrity.